Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com.
Yeah, welcome to Drinkin' Bros, kids. There's men in this world, and then there's Cameron Haynes. My God, man. I just read your book, Endure, How to Work Hard, Outlast, and Keep Hammering, which is out today. You gave me an advance copy over the weekend, and I feel like a pussy. I feel like a fucking pussy after reading your book.
Oh, well, that's not the intent, so sorry.
It's not?
No.
But kind of, right?
No. The intent is to give people who, like me, some loser, hope. And like, you know what? You're not on this path for your whole life. You can actually come up. That's what I did.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, he would have named it, "Hey, read this, you little bitch."
Yeah, I mean, well, that's basically what he did. So look.
That's a catchy title, too.
It is. I'm a writer. I'm a writer, and first of all, I want to compliment you on the book itself, the hardcover book itself. It is beautiful.
Thank you.
This is a very expensive, well put together book. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've sold a shit ton of books in the past, but to get to this level, to get a publisher to put out a book of this quality is unbelievable. I mean, this is like a coffee table book. This is it. Like everybody who writes into the show and this is, hey, how do I do this? This should be the staple for it right here. How did you convince a publisher to spend this much money on a book?
Actually, and it's longer than I think originally planned because I kept wanting more stuff in there. And so I feel like you get, we talked about it earlier, you get one shot at this.
That's it.
And I've learned along the way, I did a self-published book back in 1999. It made this one look cheap. But
really?
Yeah, it was like 4-color, glossy, every single page. Hard. I'm like, I have no idea. It cost me $50,000 to print 5,000, which isn't good.
Holy shit.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, $10 a book.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money, so I had to borrow it from my whole family. But it was like this, it was Bowhunting trophy blacktail, so it's kind of a niche market. So I couldn't really, a publisher wouldn't even, they'd be like, what is this about? So I just said, well, I'll do it myself. Anyway, I learned the hard way that why books go with black and white and thin paper and all this. But anyway, so that was where I started. I've always been a fan of like cool books, and good paper and just good stories, and the pictures tell even more of the story. And so I worked with the publisher, and how it works, you guys probably know, but publishers, they interview you and then they make a bid to you for the advance.
Yep.
And for me, it was like wherever I had the best feeling. And then I kind of had the vision for the book, and they said, well, maybe we should call it this or that. I said, no, I want to call it Endure, and I want this picture on the cover. And they were just like, sounds good. So they just did whatever I wanted to do. It was really lucky.
Now, the foreword was by Joe Rogan. Was that a part of your pitch package going in? Because I'm sure that helped.
Yeah, that definitely, so they make the bids, and then I can't remember when it happened, but I asked for more money, and then I think I might have said at that time, I can't remember, Esther, my book agent, would know for sure, but I think at that time maybe we threw out, oh, by the way, Joe's going to do the forward, and so it's like automatically gave me, I always say his name just gave me $200,000 more in the advance.
It's fucking crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. The White Oprah.
But then he, not only just saying, hey, Cam is cool, he's a good bow hunter, I like him. He went all out and paid it's a long forward.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how long he spent on it. He said not much, but it is very well written, I thought.
It is, and it appears, and look, this could be an incorrection on, I haven't listened to the audiobook because I read the hardback. It appears as if he's on the audiobook. Is that true?
He read his forward.
Oh, man, I feel like quitting. I mean, absolutely. If he reads that's going to be a gajillion copies on its own.
He read the forward, then Goggins read the afterword because he also wrote something. And so I had them both, the bookends, and I don't know if you guys have read, you got a radio voice, so you probably have been doing this forever, but reading out loud is not easy.
It's very, very difficult.
Not easy.
Yep. And a friend of ours, Tim Kennedy's got a book coming out next month.
Right.
And I told Nick and Tim, I said, hey, the most difficult part is still to come. It's the audiobook.
Yes.
It's a motherfucker.
Oh my God. You have to be so you can't just read. I mean, I don't read out loud. You know, my kids are old. Maybe it was like, see Spot run, see whatever. That was my only reading I did out loud until this book. And then you have to have voice inflection, and you need to tell the story. Is it intense? That has to come out. I would read for maybe 7 hours a day. It took me 4 or 5 days, and just be exhausted from reading. But then Joe sent his forward that he read for me, and I was just like, oh my God, no, how is he so good at this shit? It's like sounded just so perfect. So you'll have to listen to
I will.
And then I didn't know how Goggins would, Goggins is like he doesn't ever talk normal. It's like, just firing you up. And I'm like, man, I don't know how that's going to come across reading. And he did great too.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And like you said, it's bookended. So on the front of the book, it says the forward by Joe Rogan. And on the back is the quote from Goggins on the back. And obviously in this space, it helps. Because like you said, bow hunting is niche. I feel like Rogan has brought it more into the mainstream. Guys like him, you, Andy Stumpf, have brought this sport more into the mainstream. Was that part of you wanting to write this book, was to bring bow hunting to a wider audience as well? No, that I actually wasn't going to write a book. It wasn't my goal. I had no plan on doing like a memoir type thing. And I didn't have a goal. Bow hunting's already, because of Rogan, it's been a great run as far as explaining what bow hunting is, what the journey is. It's not just, murdering animals. It's not just getting off on killing. So we've explained that journey and what the reward is with the meat and all that. So the intent, 100%, like I said at the beginning, it's only to give people hope that I just think there's a lot of people out there just kind of going through life, and what moves them. And it's just, for bow hunting seems so weird. In this little tiny town I came up in, so I like to bow hunt. Nobody'd ever say, oh, that's going to take you places. You know what I mean? Right.
But the thing is your passion can. It doesn't matter what your passion. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, football. It doesn't have to be the big three sports or anything like that. If your passion attracts people, no matter what it is. And so I took my passion, and here I'm sitting on your podcast.
Sure.
And how? It wouldn't even make sense.
It's aspirational marketing, like you said. So people are going to read your story about whatever it is you did, whether it's the endurance athlete stuff or the hunting or whatever it is, and they learn lessons on how to navigate their own journey. Right. That's what it is. It's not about bow hunting necessarily, although that is the backdrop. It's like any good piece of fiction, actually. Like the world that you develop it in is a backdrop for the point you're trying to make. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing with our lives. That's why some of these people are so inspirational.
Yeah, the backdrop is bow hunting, but the message is hope. It's just like, hey, you got hope. Just because your life isn't going like graduate from high school, go to college, get it, blah, 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 meet a girl, get married, have kids. It's just whatever. Just if it's not like that, that's okay. Right. You can still achieve, amazing things, reach people, or maybe just have a fulfilled life. Maybe your goal isn't to be famous, just fulfilled and feel like you know what your purpose is. So that's the point of the book.
Yeah, and what's odd to me is I know you just from bow hunting. It wasn't until I read your book that I read about the marathons and everything else, just because I've seen you everywhere. I feel like we're in some of the same circles, and I knew about the bow hunting. I had no idea about the endurance running. You discuss it in the book with starting off with marathons and then moving to 50 and then 100, and then there was one that was 200 and
the Utah one, yeah. That one's a bunch of bullshit.
I mean, bro. So first off, before the show started, I told you there was a story in this book that you should have given yourself more credit for. Oh, okay. And you didn't, and I'm going to bring that up because it involves marathons. Okay. One of the first marathons you talk about in the book is racing against Lance Armstrong. Yeah. And you say that you beat Lance Armstrong by, I believe, 12 seconds. That's right. In the book. And you went into the story about, he was an inspiration and you enjoyed him and all that other stuff. Yeah. But what you didn't talk about was that you actually beat him on steroids. And I think you've earned it.
Yeah, I was on steroids, no.
He was on steroids at that time. You know that, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know, because that was right in the middle of when he retired from the tour. So he'd won 7 straight. I think he took a year off in 2008, which is when we ran Boston. He came back in 2009 and got third.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know what,
I would have put it in the book.
no, well,
Not only did you beat Lance Armstrong in a marathon, you
Yeah.
beat him while he was on steroids.
I know.
He's here in Austin somewhere if you want to go fight him.
You know what? You know what's weird is, so we actually chatted with him. We just missed each other for this show.
Oh.
He records. Have you been on his show before?
No, Rihanna's been working on it. I think we have a plan. He's actually in Colorado now.
Right.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But he kept a little tiny house here that it records out of, and they were like, "Yeah, it's like a 900 square foot house, and it's somewhere near here."
Okay.
And that's where he records out of, but he only does like sporadic. Well, he'll stack a bunch of episodes
Yeah.
and then just leave.
He I think messaged back to Rihanna last night and said that he read the book and he remembered. I didn't think, I was telling Jocko this, or I don't know who I was telling, but maybe in my head, maybe that really kind of never happened. Maybe I saw him, and you can make these whole stories up in your head, and after 20 years, it's like, oh, that's what happened. And it's like, no, that didn't happen. But anyway, so I thought maybe I made up a lot of that. Maybe I thought I talked to him. It felt like I talked to him. Maybe we didn't. But he did remember the story, and it is like I said, but we haven't connected on scheduling the time. I'm going to do his podcast, so.
Yeah, he's a tough one to nail down, but that story was cool. And you had talked about in the book how you didn't know if he would remember or anything else.
Yeah.
I don't think he would be able to forget that based on the everything that you guys went through together.
Yeah.
For that, I mean, a marathon is so intense.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a dude with him the entire time, you're chit-chatting back and forth,
Yeah.
that's just not something you forget. So it's not surprising to hear that.
I didn't know just because he'd been in so many iconic races. I mean, the tour, 3,000 miles, and I'm sure he has those moments where you're, and that's like you form these bonds and these hard things, anything tough that's you're going through together, you're going to have a bond with somebody. And I thought, well, maybe he's done it so many times over his whole career. He's been the America's best endurance athlete, or the world's at one time. So I didn't know if that one time he'd remember, I was 40 at that time, he was 37, just some weird Boston Marathon. But it was because to me, you have the whole PED and the whole scandal. I don't even think about that. As all I remember him is when I would watch TV, and I don't even give a shit about bike racing. I could care less. But because his larger than life persona in Texas, and he was confident and then winning. It's like that drew people, and it drew me in, and I loved his bravado and then backing it up. So then the whole thing came up, and it's like, who were they all on it? Probably. So it doesn't even really matter to me about the PEDs or all that. I think he's still that guy who, I read his book. It's not about the bike, and it was such a powerful book. And so,
Yeah, he's a sharp guy.
yeah, I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, and me personally, and I know this is going to sound controversial, but I wish he never would have gotten caught.
Yeah.
I really don't. There was a photo, an infamous photo, that he ended up talking about on Oprah, where they were just starting to talk about the PEDs and everything else that was going on, and he posted one response, and it was him laying out on a couch. Bob, if you can pull up that photo.
Oh, with all the
yellow jerseys.
no, I put that up,
Yeah.
and then people of course talk shit about it, but I'm just like, how amazing is that
It was,
photo?
it's
'em.
to me, it's iconic.
Did you see it?
We had Rick Riley on the show last week, and he has been extremely outspoken against professional athletes who use PEDs. But I locked him down on one last week. I'm like, so the most exciting period in baseball history was the late 90s.
Oh, my God.
And he goes, yeah, I guess you got a point there. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you're goddamn right I do.
Yeah.
It's an entertainment sport. Like, the whole thing is made for TV.
They would come, Barry Bonds, every time he went up to bat, would come in on live
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
When
We've never seen anything like that before.
No.
Ever.
That was
and I
so
don't know that we
amazing.
will again.
No. Well, not if they keep... Baseball's running itself into the ground right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, pop this photo up on screen there, Bob. So it's him just laid out on his couch with all of the Tour de France jerseys.
Yeah.
Obviously, when he won the
7 of them.
championship, 7
Yeah.
or 8 maybe, was
I
it?
think 7.
Okay.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a big fuck you, and it just pushed USADA and those guys to go
Yeah,
after him,
I
and
know.
there was just like, all right, fuck us, no, fuck you. All you had to do was just stay retired and shut up.
Yeah.
And instead, you post this picture, start popping off,
It's like
and then
a-
you try to make a return.
It's like a political witch hunt because it always happens like that. Like
Yeah.
these organizations, are the most corrupt organizations on the. Forget about politics, like FIFA and USADA and company and organizations like this. Routinely send people to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not people they've caught, but them getting caught cheating on stuff. It's hilarious. But it's always some kind of fucking witch hunt bullshit.
And I'm with you on the Lance Armstrong thing because everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
So who gives a shit? Like, why go after everybody like that? And it's just a waste of money. It's a waste of government funding and all that other shit, like to go after these guys in a public manner.
Yeah, and it's just ruining a legacy, I think, because he earned what he did, and they were all doing it. It feels like the reports are out, but he was a legend from being a teenager. You know, racing here these local circuits in triathlete or as a triathlete, and winning and beating pros as a young man.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me he's just a freak. And then also he had that same kind of drive. It feels like that Jordan had. You know, everybody's seen the documentary about the Bulls and Jordan, and it's like that. Those type of people, they're special. Why would you want to taint it? I don't know, but I feel like they tried to taint his legend.
People are haters, man.
Yeah,
They are. And after reading your book, I hate to say it, but you're in that category. Like, you're in the category of the Jordans. Like, you're one of the very best in the world, and you work at your craft endlessly. It is in this book over and over and over again. You mentioned, as far as these endurance marathons, that it is simply to prepare yourself for the woods and for bow hunting. To my knowledge, I don't know anybody else out there doing it. And along with Lance Armstrong, who made a once unpopular sport popular, you have done the same for bow hunting.
I wouldn't say I've done it, but I've been part of this. It's been exciting. I mean, when I first started in bow hunting, it was like everybody kind of do the same thing. You go to a 3D shoot, you do your practice. You're not really training for bow hunting. And where I started to hunt, it was just Oregon's largest wilderness area, and it would kick my ass. And I would get back there, and I would get beat down. And then when you get beat down, then all of a sudden you get a little more homesick, and then you're thinking about, I should be home. If you have a kid or you got a girl, you think your girl's out screwing around on you for sure, and you create all these issues in your head. And I just realized I need to either quit doing this or just get tougher. And to get tougher was, of course, physically, but also with that physical training and going through these long endurance races, it gave me mental toughness. And then I would get in the mountains and I'd overcome all those challenges that affects everybody especially when they're by themselves. As humans, we're used to being around people, used to being entertained and engaged, and we're hardly ever just by ourselves. And so it gave me strength to be comfortable back there, being uncomfortable, being comfortable, or whatever it is. But anyway, it gave me strength. And so the training, the long races helped bow hunting, and then bow hunting in turn helped my long races. I mean, I was able to improve both of them, but the only reason why I've trained is for bow hunting and to be more prepared.
So back to what you were saying about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. This is a subject that Dan brings up all the time. Because if you're not pushing yourself, I guess, how do you get better at something?
Right.
There are certain parts of the book, though, that I got to ask. Like, are you still married? Because I did think of your wife and your kids along the way, and I'm like, man, if he keeps doing this shit over and over and over again, there's probably going to be a breaking point.
I think she hasn't texted me, so we should still be married.
I didn't see a wedding ring, and I was like, shit, I didn't want to ask, but I had to. I was like...
somehow I am. I'm not really... It's like, that should be...
It reminds me of the management book that Michael Scott wrote in The Office, Somehow I Manage.
I'm not really... It doesn't really make any sense, but I am.
Because how does she support you going out for a 240-mile run? Like... It's insane just hearing it, let alone actually doing it. And then whatever your recovery process is after it, she's got to deal with that shit then.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm like every guy, but, at home, you kind of put on this thing. Like, you go through the races, how you feeling? Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. But then when you go home, can kind of turn into a pussy, you want to get a little sympathy. Yeah. So she's seen the actual real me. I never whine. I'm not putting up shit on social talking about how hard I have it and all this stuff.
45-second video of you crying in the shower.
Yeah, right.
Like, what the fuck are the... It's mostly women doing this stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. Like, what exactly are you going for here?
Yeah.
This is something we talk about on the show quite a bit, and one of the reasons we like the book and like you, it is the overcoming of obstacles that is what that makes us impressed with and proud of people, not just experience it. Everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you obviously choose to go through more than you need to, but everybody goes through shit in their life.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, showing the part where it sucks sometimes can be helpful in social media, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's more or less a fantasy world. You know what I
Right.
mean? But goddamn, like there's
There's
so
a
many
line.
there's so many athletes now, like professional athletes who are like, oh, I need to take a mental health day. What the fuck did you just say?
Yeah.
I know.
Shut your fucking mouth. You make $40 million a year.
And there's no mental health day when you're in the middle of a 240-mile run. I can tell you that.
No. I mean, so back to their point. So there was a line where, yeah, being prepared is one thing. And so I'd do a 50-mile ultra, and I mentioned this in the book, and then I wanted to do 100 because I wanted to test myself.
And she wasn't amped about it.
No, or my dad wasn't too. This is when he was alive, and he was just like, you know what, you don't really have anything left to prove. And it wasn't. It was to me. I was proving it to myself, and it reminds me of. I can't remember if I talked about this in the book, but there was another time where I had this goal. I was going to run an ultra marathon on Saturday and the Eugene Marathon on Sunday. I didn't post about it. I didn't say anything.
So 50 and 20.
Yeah,
or
so an ultra,
126?
no, it was 32 miles, so a 50K, so 32 miles on Saturday, but on trails and a lot of 7,000 foot a game. And then the regular Eugene Marathon on Sunday. So I did the ultra. I had made Truett drive me back. I remember he was 15, he only had a permit, and I fell asleep, and he ran out of gas on the freeway. and I was like, what the fuck? You didn't hear the gas light going off? He's like, I didn't know what it was. And he's 15.
15, yeah.
On I-5. Anyway, so side story, but I get home, and I'm like so beat up. My feet are swollen, blisters and everything. And so I get up Sunday morning. I said I was going to run the Eugene Marathon. And I'm sitting there and just like sitting at the kitchen table, and I just feel terrible. And so my wife gets up and she's like, did you tell anybody you were going to do this? And I said, no. She's like, you didn't post about it? I said, no. She's like, just go back to bed then. I said, I said I was going to do it myself. This is my goal.
Sure.
I got it. What do you mean? I can't. I got to do it. So I went down there to the start line, and I hadn't even tried to jog yet. And I remember there's a side street there kind of by Hayward Field where the race starts. And I'm like, I'm just going to see if I can. And I was kind of like, oh, God, everything hurt. And I'm like, God, I think I can start. So I started off and like 8:30 mile or something like that, 8-minute mile. And then I actually got where I was running in the 6-minute miles again. Mm-hmm. And I finished at like 3:15 or whatever, qualified for Boston with it. And that was like an example where, so you have, and we talk about this all the time, you have two paths to choose, the easy one and the hard one. And there's, of course, multiple paths in between, variations of them all. But that day, I could have said, no, I did an ultra marathon. That's a win. I did that yesterday. I deserve a break, or my body deserves a break. But instead, I said, no, I'm going to actually add on and try to see what I'm capable of. And then decisions like that, I think, build on each other. So then back-to-back marathons was no big deal. And like, oh, okay, well, a 100-mile ultra marathon, guys have done that. Let's ramp it up. Let's do the 240, the Moab 240. And so that's kind of how you do it. But it all starts with, to me, it started with a 5K. And then a 10K, then like there's some 7-mile race I talk about in there, and then it just gradually goes up, and your body starts responding, and it's a marathon is no big deal anymore. It's like your body's so trained because you've done this, and it's exciting.
How many total have you done at this point?
Marathons? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure.
It's just endless.
Not endless. I mean, and even a marathon, I just did one, the Eugene Marathon again. And those are still hard. It's like I've been in these races and you're like, oh, well, this is only 26 miles. Well, if you're just training and running 26 and you get tired, you want to stop, you want to get a drink, that's one thing. When you're in a race and the clock never stops and you're pushing, a regular marathon can be very hard. And this one that I just did was tough, but it's all, what you build, set goals in your head if you're doing a 200-mile marathon, when you get to 26, you know you're only a tenth of the way through. So you're not, but when you're only doing a marathon and like it's all about pace, it's just a different mental thing. But there's still a challenge is the point I was going to make.
What do you think about when you run?
Yeah. Because you can't listen to music, right?
You can.
Oh, you can do whatever you want.
Oh, you can.
Like
I didn't know that.
Some people listen to music to keep them on a certain pace, right? Like
That's the only thing I would
but
do.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't. I try to space out. Like listening to music doesn't work for me because I get off rhythm. Like I start listening to the rhythm of the music. I guess that's a song, right? Rhythm of the music.
Yeah. Rhythm
CNC,
of the night.
CNC Music Factory or some shit. No, I would have to make a playlist specifically to the cadence of how I run. Otherwise, it would fuck me up. Like I can't even listen to music when I'm on a bike, when I'm on my Peloton, because I'll be going really fast and my heart rate's like at 160. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Better calm down.
Well, that was my heart rate the whole race. 168 was my average.
Really?
So it hurt. Yeah, I mean, it was
And then do you listen to music?
So you asked what I thought about it. So here, sometimes, and I'll be honest, I think about how could I quit this race and still not look like could I say I was hurt? Could I say my hamstring was, it's like you go through all these things.
Does that ever go away?
What, that feeling?
That feeling in your head where you're like looking for the exit, like you're looking for the excuse in a weird way, like just hoping something would happen in a way just to like stop whatever's going on.
I don't think so. I think you always, you can be your own worst enemy. And so, but I think what you learn from is you've had those feelings before and you've overcome them before. And so that feeling of this isn't it, I'm not surrendering. I know I felt like this before and I know I pushed through and I know I had a great race on the other side of it. But during that time, so in this race, I remember, I was hurting pretty bad, trying to keep a pace up. I wanted to stay under 7-minute miles. And so I remember saying, okay, I got 12 minutes. If I run hard for 12 minutes, then I'll be in single-digit miles.
That's what I do. I do math in my head. Yeah, I can't stop. Like that's the only way that it seems. Otherwise, running is boring as shit.
Yeah.
Like your brain just goes all sorts of places. But that's what I always do. I like look at the clock and be like, all right, I'm going to do this much in this amount of time, and I do that, and then just keep doing that throughout the process.
Right. So I was like at mile 11. I needed to run 12 more minutes, then I'd be in mile 9. Then I'd be in single digits. Then we're home.
Yeah.
If we're in single digits, we're home. But you talked about music too. Was trying to listen to music. My one headphone came out, went bouncing down the road. So I was like trying to run fast and then chasing this one earphone around. Yeah. And it's just like, that pissed me off. So I took those off. I carried this phone the whole time. I had nothing to do, tried to put it in my shorts like this, and it was too heavy. Didn't really have a plan for my phone. So it was like my music and podcast plan just failed miserably.
Actually, podcasts might be easier to deal with. Just people or listen to an audiobook might be better than listening to music. There's something about the beat, and then if it doesn't match up with what I'm doing, I'm stupid.
Well, a lot of those long distance runners guys I lived with in college would talk on their long runs when they would go out and do like 18 miles in the morning, just as their like morning long run. Like they talk to each other, and I could never do that because I'm like, I'm running, I can't have anything.
No.
Well, my first sergeant always said, if you can still talk, you're not running fast enough, bitch.
Well,
so
I don't know if that could be questioned because like.
Well, I was in the 82nd Airborne. That's not like for a runner. It's just like go run 5 miles through the woods.
No, that could be. I mean, for the normal person, yeah. But I know like Olympic athletes, 80 or 90% of their training is at conversation pace.
Sure, yeah. Like I've told him this before. When you're training for a marathon, you don't just go out and run 26 miles.
No,
you run like most people I know that
13.
do it. They run about half at the end, or not even at the end. They go like 13 at some point, and then 8, and then they start to slow it down after that. Yeah,
Normally you want to get up to maybe 20 because it's kind of time on your feet. If you want to get used to being on your feet for say 3 or 4 hours, because your feet get pretty banged up with all those strides. And,
I would imagine.
Yeah, because that was the other thing I was thinking about as I was reading this, like. Some people who just run a normal marathon, 26 miles, lose their toenails, things like that, right? That's a normal marathon. Now you're running 50, 100, 250. What happens at that point to your body? Are you losing all your nails? Are you cramping up? And where are you going to the bathroom?
Yeah, that's very good questions. You do lose most of your toenails. I mean, because what happens is your feet swell. So before I knew how it worked, I would wear shoes like that I'm wearing right now, size 10. And then after a day of running, my feet were a whole half size bigger. So these 10s now they're tight and all the toes are just jammed in the front. Those are you'll lose all those. At one time, I remember I lost 9 of the 10.
Fuck, dude.
And so,
Which one did you keep?
Middle finger, left toe. Wait, left foot.
I think it
Just
was
like-
one of the big ones. Those are pretty hardy.
Okay.
But so then the bathroom, normally, I mean, you're burning everything you take in, all your calories. So there's not much waste, to be honest. And if you can pee, that's good because that means you're not dehydrated. So you want to keep the fluids going in. But there's not a lot of, if you're eating normal and just living a normal life, you might, take 3 shits a day. There where you're burning everything, it's just not even your body doesn't have any waste.
Is it like Amber Heard, though, that if you do poop, it just kind of hits out the back and then you kind of move on with your life?
God, she was so hot too, and then now I put up that meme. I was like, would you rather have crazy hot, which is her, or hot mean, which was Will Smith's wife?
Sure.
You'd have to go with hot and crazy because, I mean, if there's mean, they might not want to ever have sex because they're just mean.
Yep.
So you can deal with the crazy. I don't know about the shitting in the bed though. That doesn't seem that
Next
great.
level. That's another level, dude, that you got to get to. Where do you go? Like, you can't stop running, right?
When
you take a shit,
Well-
does it just go out the back? It just go out the side?
No,
side door?
well, if you're running in formation in the military, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is you run up ahead, 100, 150 meters, maybe something like that, off into the woods. You shit, take your sock off, wipe your ass, throw it in the woods, and then you get back in formation.
Okay.
That's the plan.
What about you, Cam?
Well, all I know is you don't really want to take that time out because I don't know if you've been running with anybody and you're like, hey, I got to take a piss real quick. You take a piss and it seems like they're 5 miles down.
Oh, yeah,
the road.
yeah.
So you definitely don't want to. I mean, I don't know that I've ever had to take a shit during a race.
Wow.
Even in Moab? I mean, people in Moab take breaks sometimes.
Yeah, they
like
sleep.
15-minute nap or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That happens.
I don't remember ever doing it.
You should have wrote a whole chapter on that.
How long-
Hyde and Duke.
What was your time?
know?
What was your time on Moab?
78 hours.
So you didn't shit for 3 days?
I guess not. I don't remember.
Fuck that.
I don't remember it.
Check him for PEDs, dude.
I don't think there's a PED that makes you not shit.
Maybe.
Just a butt plug.
I'm assuming you're only taking in like gels and like really refined bars during that. So like your body's processing all that. You have nothing to poop out.
That's what I'm saying. There's no waste. But to answer your question, like in a marathon, a gel with 90 or 100 calories can give you a good boost. You actually need kind of real food. I do in a 3-day race because you're out there so long. And what happens in those races is once you fall behind on calories or hydration, you can't catch back up.
Your body can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't take in enough because you're burning 10,000 calories a day.
I was going to say, one of these races in the book, you said you lost 26,000 calories doing it, and then 10 pounds in one day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was just dehydrated. I started at 163, and at that mile 82 checkpoint, I was 153.
I mean, 10 pounds is just a gallon and a quarter of water.
Yeah, but
it's not that much.
But I guess what I was curious about is do they weigh you on purpose? Do you guys want that to make sure that you're able to continue?
They do it for health reasons because if you're dehydrated, like I should have been taken out of the race. That's too much of a loss. So you can either be too light or dehydrated, or your body can get kind of screwed up and actually the salt, it makes you heavy. Like you get swollen up.
Yeah, you retain too much
And
water.
so then you're too heavy. So there's like this. So you got your starting weight, whatever, at 163, and then you can't go too low or too high.
I imagine when you go when you start to retain too much water, that's when your feet really get fucked up.
Yeah, I would think. I haven't done that, but I mean, I can tell when I'm getting dehydrated because my fingers. I'll be running and my fingers are starting to feel tight.
Yeah,
because they're just getting
cramp up,
swollen. And I just know that I'm behind on fluids because my fingers are swelling.
There's a listener named Jessica here in the chats was asking, did he run Moab with that Courtney chick? She's insane. I believe you did,
Yeah,
right?
we started together.
Yeah.
And
Because it's in the book.
She was like second or third place overall in that race.
she won
right?
overall.
Oh, she won overall?
by 10 hours or 8 hours or
It's
something.
smoked all, because you write about it in the book, you said she smoked all the dudes and the girls. Like, it's just her.
What was her time?
She was, I think 60, maybe 62 hours
Good
in that
Lord.
one. But I think, man, I don't know, or maybe in the high 50s. Anyway,
Oh, shit, dude. She smoked it by 20 hours.
something amazing.
That's a whole day.
I'm not sure. Are you
She
gonna
was chilling on the couch for a day, dude.
Yeah,
just
I know.
waiting for you to finish.
Well, so I actually had high hopes that I was going to compete for like around the top on this one. So I was trying to be smart about it. And I went out kind of conservative because I always go out too fast because you're feeling good. And I was getting checked like at the aid stations. I'd say, who's leading and where are they? And they were saying where she was. And I'm like, she screwed up. I didn't know, nobody knew who she was. And she was kind of came onto the scene in that race and, blew everybody out. But before that, I had never heard of her. And so they're saying, oh yeah, there's some woman that, at mile whatever. And I'm like, oh, something's screwed up. There's no way.
Right.
There's no way somebody could be that far ahead already. But we didn't know she was, she's the best in the world.
Holy shit. 57,
Which has been broken.
right at 58 minutes.
She beat him by a
58
day.
hours.
Or 58 hours.
58 hours, yeah.
excuse me.
She beat you by a full day.
Yeah, the Moab record time now is 55 hours by Michael McKnight that was set this last year.
Yeah.
Shit,
and
dude.
I ran with him. He came and paced me. I ran this 100-miler last year on Antelope Island, and he came and paced me. He's a legend too. He's actually like keto, and he'll run 100 miles with no calories, just fat adapted, burning fat.
Oh, Jesus.
What?
Yeah.
What does he weigh, like 110?
A storing
I don't
process
know what he
before
weighs.
that?
I don't know what.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, so he'll just, because if your body can go to burn fat, usually fat is not a good fuel source. We need carbs. That's what our body's kind of set up for. That's why you do the gels with the carbs and the sugars. Well, you can change your body through ketosis towards burning fat, and that's what he does. And he's just been killing it. He won all those 200 milers that year. There's 3 of them. He won every one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, stud.
Were you the one who told Rogan about Courtney?
No, he was following me in that race, and then she was like dominating. So he's like, "Oh, I wonder where Cam is." He's like, "Oh, he's way behind this person. Who is this person?"
Yeah.
And so then I think he learned of her in that race, and then had her on.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she deserves it too. She's I don't even. You can kind of see people who are freaks or like they have this mindset like they're she is so nice, but then just a killer in the mountains. I mean, just incredible human.
Well, I have one more question for him about this, like McKnight's keto being like super restrictive dieting. I've seen certain athletes. It doesn't necessarily mean what it has to be. I've seen some go vegetarian, some do other things, but something about being really, really restrictive just allows a little bit more athletic performance once they're at the top, like a 5% increase on wherever they were, depending on their sport or something.
Well, it's the 80-20 rule, right? Like 80% of production comes out of the top 20 percentile of any group of people, whether it's at sports or business or any of that shit, right?
Hunting's like that.
Yep.
Yeah, the same guy's killing every year. But yeah, McKnight's got a great story too. He was, like a young kid, overweight, kind of bullied, was, had no confidence. And from that, now he's like one of the best endurance athletes in the world. And Rogan says this too, is like everybody loves a story of somebody who was a fuck up and now has won.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
And so it's just, I don't know. It's I love hearing stories like that. McKnight's a beast.
Yeah. Going back to your book here and being away from your family and all that stuff, I read the chapter where you discussed your dad dying from cancer. Obviously, it's a horrific situation and everything else. There was a race that you ran where he had just a few days left to live. I'm curious as to why you decided to do that. Was that for him? And did he know about it? Did you say, "Hey, Dad, I'm thinking about doing this race"? And then looking back at it, do you wish you had the time back?
No, I mean, how that whole thing, it's just crazy. You know, death is, especially of your dad, is never, you know, it's like everybody's worst nightmare. The blessing to it, because my best friend also died too, and it was a sudden death. But the blessing to my dad's was we had so much time, because, you know, you go through it, and everybody who has cancer, it seems like they're fighting it. They got the chemo, they're going to beat it. Hopes are high. The doctors were telling them it was a miracle, but it very seldom ever ends a miracle. It's the path is pretty predictable. You're going to keep it down with chemo. The cancer is going to be subsided. You're going to feel okay, except you got this poison going in you. As soon as your body won't allow more chemo treatment, the cancer comes back and you're going to die. And it's just like, no matter what people want to say, that's generally what happens almost every time. Mm-hmm. So we knew that. And my dad he didn't want to die. He had a positive attitude, but we knew. And so I was able to spend time with him, talk way more than we had in years past. He was in and out of my life, you know, because my parents were divorced and he was dealing with his own challenges. And so we had that time. Now, as far as would I have the time back to go do the race, my dad, he was a coach his whole life, basically. He was an elite athlete and then a coach of elite athletes. So he knows, you know, when it's time to perform, that's what we do. We perform. And I had signed up for the race. I was going to do, it was my second 100. It's a Western States endurance run, and it's the most famous 100. And no, it was never a question of should I go or should I not. And I didn't know how long he was going to live at that time anyway. But it gave him a distraction, I think, you know. And I got home and I had the buckle that I won for being, you know, finishing that race in under 24 hours. I was able to talk to him about that. And it's like, people who are dying, I think, especially battling cancer, I can't imagine, you just think about it. You knew that was in your body all the time. You'd want something to take your focus away, even for a minute or a few seconds or maybe an hour. And so I feel like it did that, and it gave us something else to talk about.
Yeah, I thought that was a beautiful chapter in your book, by the way.
Thank you.
Because you also chatted about that you guys get to have some conversations about life and everything else. And, you know, as I was reading it, and this is partially because of my own situation, but like my father died unexpectedly. So I didn't get to have those conversations. Right. But you had the advantage at least of sitting down, probably going through his life, your life, everything across the board, and having these moments that you typically don't get.
Right.
Because usually, like you were saying about your best friend, it just happens like that, and it's just like, oh shit, I wish I would have called or texted or whatever it was. You had the opposite of that.
You know, you always want to, you always think, I just hope they know how I feel about them and that I love them. And it's like, you don't always get that chance to verbalize it, you know? So when you can say, look at your dad and say, Dad, do you know how much I love you? That's a special opportunity. And it's just like, so I focus on that instead of, you know, something else. You know, I just don't focus on it's never positive to lose your dad, but the time is special. And our lives they're filled of moments like that, and we waste a lot of moments. So if you can maximize time like that, that's what we did, and that's what I feel good about.
Nice. One of the biggest questions I have for you after reading this is it seems like you want the apocalypse to happen.
No, that's not right. People say this shit to me all the time.
Yes, and that's what I identified with.
No, they're like, they conflate me being comfortable with something with me wanting it to happen. That's not the same thing. Like
Just being prepared.
Yeah, I'm completely fine going out into the woods and spending the rest of my life there if I need to. That doesn't mean that that's what I want to do. I enjoy air conditioning as well. You know what I mean? But it's not always available.
Yeah, I think that to me, to answer your question, there's a certain, it seems like you walk different, you act different when you know you're capable of providing for yourself or protecting yourself or overcoming whatever. I think a lot of people go through life and they're reliant on a lot of people for a lot of things. And that can't be a great feeling.
It's easy to confuse being unconcerned with something with not caring about it.
Right.
Right. And it's not the same thing. Like, I'm not concerned with somebody popping through the door right here and starting some shit because I can deal with that. You know what I mean? And I think it's the same. You can tell people that are confident in that area.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
They don't worry about maybe to our detriment as well, right? Like we've become extremely comfortable in the U.S. because we're so successful. Mm-hmm. But the people who have driven that success, right, through the generations, used to spend a lot of time giving back to the community, teaching lessons back to the community, being available for the community, whatever the community is in that regard. And it seems like over the past generation or two, and I'm to blame for this as well, it's a lot easier just to say, fuck all this shit. Like, I'm going to get myself and my family ready and just go on about my life and just wait for something to happen. But it's not really like that, is it? I mean, there's 340 fucking million people in this country.
Yeah. We're a community, and I talk about that too, is about how I feel men should be. There's a few examples where I needed to help people who needed aid. And I think that's what we're here for. And as a hunter, I feel like I'm supposed to be a provider to the community. So that's why when I kill, I'm not hoarding all the meat, all my kills myself. I love giving it out to the community. I take it to work. I give it to people who maybe haven't tried meat. And it's not something like, oh, this will be a goodwill gesture. This will make me look good. It's like, I don't think about that. It's like, that's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you work with, what is it, Hunters for the Homeless? Or
I have
Hunters,
before, yeah.
They've got like 25 chapters across the country now where you go hunting, you kill your animals, whatever you happen to do, or your group goes out and does this, and whatever meat you don't put in your freezer for the whatever, you just donate it to these, and they make sure it gets to people that need it. Well, it's a good organization.
Yeah, it is. I have donated deer to that. I think that I killed back in Iowa, but like there's this place in Colorado. They feed 1,000 or 1,100 homeless people a day, and they don't meat. Protein is in such high demand. They just don't have it. So you can take a deer, elk, or a bear, grind that up in a hamburger, and then you're having stew and tacos and all this hamburgers. So valuable. So they need protein. I love providing it. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the role hunters play.
Do you use guns at all, or is it just bow hunting?
I just bow hunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's why? Just out of curiosity.
I've always just been a bow hunter. Once I decided, I rifle hunted to start, and my kids all started rifle hunting, and I have no problem with it. But once I started bow hunting and had success with the bow, I'm just a bow hunter, and I go on a lot of hunts where any weapon is allowed, and I still only just use my bow. It's just that's like if you look at my social media, the bio it just says bow hunter. That's it. It's all I want to be known as.
Right.
So, like Jocko mentioned that he's like, well, let's see, you could be a New York Times bestselling author, founder of our Origin Hunt, and I'm like, bow hunter.
Bow hunter. That's it. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Just bow hunter.
Yeah.
Because the reason I ask is Evan Hafer is a good friend of ours, and he's gotten into bow hunting, and it was one of those things where a lot of people who do it get hooked pretty quickly. And then, I mean, that becomes all they want to do. Was it like that with you?
Yeah. I mean, there's something about just releasing an arrow and watching the arrow track and hit the target.
And also having to get closer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a sweet spot particularly for like the primal masculine competitive spirit. There's a sweet spot where it's hard enough that it's an accomplishment every time I do it, but it's not so hard that it's fucking impossible.
Yeah.
Where people like that thrive, right?
Yeah. It feels impossible sometimes. Bow hunting can be so hard. But
especially if the wind doesn't cooperate.
Oh,
Jesus Christ, man.
No, I know the wind. So many things can go wrong with the bow, and then you can make fail on the shot because there's so many variables in just executing a perfect shot. But the challenge is, and that's where people struggle with social media. You put up this animal that you work so hard for, and you're happy because you've achieved this goal that you've trained, maybe years for, and then it's a victory in that moment, not a victory in you killed the animal, but just all the work is paid off. And people from the outside see that picture with the dead animal, and they don't get it. They're like, "What? Why is this guy happy that he killed this animal's dead?" And there's like this weird disconnect. But hunters, if you've been through it, you've 100% guarantee. Any hunter would look at it and go, "Oh, that's awesome, dude. Good job."
Yeah.
A non-hunter would be like, "This is a madman." So that's where there's a lot that goes to it. So you have every right to feel proud that you made it happen.
I guess they think that the meat at the butcher is surgically removed.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
where Rogan has done a good job of educating, I will say the masses that many people don't hunt. We have, what you said, 340 million people and 14 million hunters. So most people don't hunt. A lot of people don't even know a hunter. So the exposure they get to hunting is on Rogan and listening to that and hearing him talk about
or
it.
you or Ranella. I mean,
Right.
it's not just Joe. Like he's helped amplify some of your voices, but there's some legit conservationist people who take it seriously in the community now. And this might be the first generation that's had something. It may be the first generation that's needed something like that, but it's definitely the first that's had it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And you're a part of it as well. Don't sell yourself short. Like a lot of people know about this shit because of you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I do feel responsibility to project that right because hunting means so much and we get so protective over it, So I feel responsibility to say, let's do this the right way, and share this the right way. So it's a slippery slope on I mentioned that yesterday. Rogan's like, well, we know you can't get canceled, but I can.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely can. So it's like you want to make sure you're putting out the right stuff too.
Of course. If somebody kicked down your door
Yeah.
to rob your house, is there a bow next to your bed?
No, that'd be the old pistola.
Okay. I'm just checking how proficient you are.
Yeah,
Because if you
no.
would have said, hey, dude, I'm going to fucking bow this guy to death, then I would have been like, all right, he really lives that life.
Yeah.
So there is one place that you're...
The old 9 mil is there.
Okay.
beside the bed, yeah.
That's some weak shit, dude. Randy Johnson
know.
keeps a bucket of baseballs next to his
Oh,
bed.
there you go.
He does.
Yeah.
That's a true story.
Well,
Serious?
if you threw 100 miles per hour, that would be different, I guess. But
Yeah.
That would hurt so bad.
Oh, God, dude. There was a kid...
how embarrassing would that be if
Yeah.
you got lit up by baseballs
Dude,
while trying to rob somebody?
So, by the way, there was a kid that I grew up with that was really good, right?
Yeah.
Full ride. I think it was University of Oklahoma. I'm not going to say his name, but it was years ago. Great pitcher. Used to throw in the 90s. Blew out his arm. He's at a fraternity party. Guy's hitting on his girlfriend or whatever. And he was
Yeah.
like, fuck you, fuck you. His arm, one of the arms was in the sling. He just picked up, he went in the house, grabbed a baseball, rifled a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right at this guy's chest.
Oh, my God.
Stopped his heart. They had to call the,
What?
oh, yeah. It was a perfect shot, right? Center mass right there, right in the old solar plexus.
God.
Called the ambulance, everything else. He got thrown out of school, off the team,
But he
everything
didn't
else.
die. The guy didn't die.
The guy didn't die. He's fine. He's still alive.
Jeez.
But that was his best option at the time. And God damn, did that guy not miss?
What a story, though.
I know.
That's
it's
a
the best.
sick story.
And I'm going to bring this back to you because if somebody broke into the house and they would have been like, bow hunting legend,
Yeah, that's
Cameron
true.
Haynes, fucking right through the heart with this guy, like that would be amazing.
Maybe we do the 9 mil round and then put the arrow in it.
Oh, afterwards?
Yeah.
Before the cops get there?
Right, yeah.
See, because you got to have the legend, right? And then you got to chop off the guy's head and put it above your fireplace.
Yeah. I
well,
mean,
you put it on
that's the routine.
You put it on a pike outside to
Yeah.
warn other people.
Exactly.
It doesn't do you any good inside.
Well, you want that trophy too,
You
taxidermy.
See, you see those guys who kill coyotes and then like the ranchers and they put the coyote on the fence. So then the other coyotes are like, God damn, okay.
Yeah.
Steer clear. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that with I think the stake in the head out there.
I think that'd be a baller move.
Yeah, sends a powerful message.
Do you carry when you're out in public?
I don't. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. The only reason I bring it up,
I mean, he could just run away.
that's true.
For 3 consecutive days at a time. So who the fuck's going to chase him?
Yeah, you got to get gas a couple times.
Yeah, fuck
along the
that.
way. Yeah.
The only reason I bring it up, there was a cop listener of our show, and
Yeah.
he sent me that buffalo footage from the shooting that happened in that grocery store. And he wrote me, he was like, hey man, stay safe out there. And I watched the footage and I was like, there is nothing that would have prepared me from being at, HEB down the street for what had happened. There's a handful of guys, Dan, you'd be one of them, that would be ready for something like that. But the rest of us, dude, I'd be fucking nuked. I'd be toast.
It's tough. It's tough to anticipate things like that for sure.
It is.
That's the secret. I always anticipate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's what I was that's where I was going with this. Like, do you anticipate all of this shit when you're bow hunting and everything else? Like the ultra marathon stuff, I'm assuming you've never had to chase down a buffalo for 3 days straight or 4 days straight.
No, but you do get fatigued on a hunt, and when you're on a hunt, you do make poor decisions because you're tired.
Yeah.
And you should.
Lazy. Let's be that's what it really is.
That's what it is. But it's like if you you should, and I use this example, like the wind's going up the hill, there's an animal at the top. you know you should go all the way to the backside and come over the top on it because the wind's going up. But because you're fatigued, you kind of angle and quarter to it. Maybe like, I don't really need to go all the way to the backside. I think I can just we should be good, and the wind swirls, and then guys can justify it with saying, the wind fucked me. And it's like, no, actually you fucked you because you should have went all out and done it right, but you were too lazy, as you said. So yeah, I mean, that's where the training comes in. It's just like, you're not taking the shortcuts. You would be the only one who would know it, but just like I said I was going to do those back-to-back marathons, you know, and no matter what your story is, you know. So I don't know, that's to do it right takes effort.
It's discipline. I mean, every time, I say this all the time in the show, but every time you do the right thing, it gets easier to do the right thing, right? Every time you do the wrong thing, it becomes easier to do the wrong thing. And not only that, doing the right thing every time doesn't necessarily make it more likely that you'll do the right thing the next time, but doing the wrong thing makes it a lot more likely you're going to do the wrong thing the next time, right? It's that shit is cancer.
Well, yeah, you set this personal standard. And it's like when you have a standard that you've set and you've lived up to, and that's kind of what you expect, it's what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for me. I mean, like with people ask about the running or all that, it's just like, I don't even think about it. I know I'm going to train every day. It's just it's not up for debate. So.
I asked Steve Ranella when he was here about his children and what he wanted them to be growing up, and whether or not he wanted them to become hunters or bow hunters and everything else. He said no. Do you have the same feeling towards your children?
Raising kids has been pretty tough for me because I never really knew if I was doing it right. I know parents always say that. They don't know if they're doing it right. You try to do the best you can. But I definitely, because of my life, I push my boys pretty hard and probably too hard. And there's times where I felt, I don't know if I felt bad, but I felt regretful by how hard I pushed them. And there's things where I would be like, I remember, and it kind of haunts me, but we'd be at the movies, just like kids like to go to movies, or teenagers, or maybe a little younger. And I would say, look around. I said, see all these people here? Most of them are overweight. I said, this is average. I said, you don't want to be average. Average is a failure. And then I was like, when my oldest son was going to sign up for the Army, he was a deputy back home. And he said he had more to offer this world. And I was like thinking that I had screwed him up by saying, by just pounding in their heads that average sucks, average is a failure. And I said, I'm proud of you. You're a deputy. You're serving the community. You're doing an important job. You don't have to go and you don't have to do this. It's okay. And it's just like, so I have had regrets wondering if I pushed the boys too hard.
But if somebody said that to you, you would be like, okay, cool. And then you would go do it anyways.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Actually, Ranella, when he was on the show, he said, I think it was, I don't remember if it was his dad or somebody else told him, if you feel like you've pushed a little too hard, you're probably right in the sweet spot, right? Because you have to push people to their breaking point sometimes to get the best out of them, right?
Yeah, no.
Even yourself. So, I mean.
I know. I don't know. Because the boys, they ran half marathons and marathons when they were very young. And I don't know. I didn't know if saying that average is a failure was the right thing as a parent to say. Because what if people not everybody's capable of doing something amazing? I don't know. I don't know. I think people can find their own niche and set the standard, but I don't know. I was wondering if that approach was the right one as a parent sometimes. And luckily we had my wife there. She would, I'd be the psycho dad. She'd offset it with the loving mom type thing. So it worked. But both the boys and my daughter, they're, regardless of, my influence or whatever, they're better at everything I do. They're better than me. I mean, they are smarter. They're better people. I've been, Rogan kind of taught me this thing about how I used to look at everybody's competition. And that's what I was always tell the boys is like, we're competing against everyone. And so I would have a hard time celebrating others. And because I was like, well, no, they're winning and it's taking from me. And Joe kind of pulled the curtain back on that. He's like, no, they can win and you can win. He goes, in the book, it says that.
Yeah.
It's like, there's enough cake for everyone.
Yeah.
And so luckily that part has come over with the boys. They've been a little more well-rounded than I was and not looking to everybody like competition or taking something off my plate if they were eating. And so I feel good about that. My daughter's very smart. She's not like the physical people that the boys are. She's, more as a academic intellectual. She's going to graduate this year and going to college. Super smart. So, you do the best you can. I don't know if anybody does it right. I know I didn't, but I'm happy with my kids make me proud every day.
Well, one of them did 4,000 plus pull-ups in 24 hours. That seems like a win.
Yeah.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, dude.
No,
4,400, I think it was somewhere.
He did 4,100.
4,100.
But yeah, Goggins had the world record at 4,032 in 17 hours something. And so Truett wanted to beat. That was like Goggins. That record had been beat, so it wasn't the world record anymore. But he just wanted to beat David because David had come and trained with me, and we knew each other. And he's like, that was his goal. So he got that, and David was very supportive of that. And then he also has done 100-mile ultra marathons, and then he's a ranger in the Army right now, so he's doing great too.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really fucked up, Cam.
Yeah, Cam.
Well, it worked.
Asshole.
No, it worked. But I mean, I've had plenty of regrets, and but you do the best you can.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, but I mean, it's far better to be motivated and empowered than what we see from most people in your children's age group right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. Being average it makes you a loser.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, you don't have to settle for that.
And
it doesn't mean that
agree.
you have to be the best at running or the best at fucking math, but find what you're the best at.
Yeah, and then you
mean?
need parents to push you. We mentioned this earlier, how they're kind of teaching kids to eat healthier, faster, younger, and things like that, where we didn't have that growing up.
Right.
Like, our lunches were disgusting, and we lived in the sloth and ate the sloth, and it was like, this is amazing. And then you grow up and you're like, oh my God, I was eating the worst shit ever.
Yeah.
No wonder I was fat in seventh
Totino's
grade.
pizzas.
Yeah, exactly,
those are so
dude.
good.
Those are still good, my man.
They were 99 cents. It's like you'd cook them and they'd be crispy, and then you'd take a bite and burn the roof of your mouth.
Yeah. Bro,
so good.
Put a
I've
little
injured
Cholula
myself.
on there. Let's go. And we've all injured ourselves on.
And they're still 99 cents. So
Yes.
probably
Are they?
inflation for
Yeah, and Arby's 5 for $5 is still Arby's 5 for $5.
Is it?
So fucking
Well, the hot
right?
dogs. Well, the hot dogs went up at Costco. They're $1 for life. Now they're $1.50. So, fucking A.
Well,
but yeah, there was a thing that they sent us home with where they said, look, your everyday life and just recess isn't enough. You should at least do a mile a day, maybe 2 miles a day. So there was a 50, 100, or a 50, 100, and a 150 mile club, and then you checked off the miles with your children that you did. And he's in second grade, my oldest right now. So like, I was impressed by that. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Shit, starting in second grade, we didn't have anything like that.
No. Well, I mean, we had more PE back then. I remember handstand contests and things like that. Now, a lot of schools don't even have PE anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
Oof.
back home. And it's just not good. It's just because they turn competition into a bad thing because, everybody has to win.
Yeah.
I think that's competition is life. Maybe I went overboard, but it's like, that's so important because if you're trying to get a job and they're trying to get a job, that's a competition.
Yeah, 100%.
How are you making yourself more valuable?
Life will always be a competition.
Right.
Forever. Unless you make enough money that you just don't fucking care anymore. Look, this has been an awesome chat. I know you're a busy man and you're promoting the book everywhere. Now is the point in the show we get to the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give the Drinkin' Bro of the Week to?
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my buddy Roy, and that's my friend who fell and died in 2015. He got me started bow hunting. He has always believed in me, even though on our come up, there's a lot of haters and people talking shit, and he always believed in me, and I wouldn't be here. If I wasn't a bow hunter, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys, so it's got to be Roy. I try to honor his memory every day.
That's awesome. It's awesome. Almost as awesome as this book, man. It was a fantastic read. Endure: How to Work Hard, Outlast, and Keep Hammering. It is out today everywhere books are sold. Congratulations on all your success. Thank you for carving out some time for us today. I believe you did Rogan yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
thank
like
you.
a nice onesie twosies, like you go to Rogan, then you come to us.
Oh, I don't know. I'm a fan. This is a great experience for me. I love being here, seeing the setting, seeing you guys. This has been a big win for me. Thank you.
Who's got a nicer studio, us or Rogan?
I don't know. This,
Go ahead and say Joe. Go ahead and say Joe.
No. Have you seen Joe's? Have you seen Joe's studio?
Joe's is pretty. It's like,
He's kind of a minimalist.
Well, he had the
set.
red spaceship one.
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah,
The red pill.
No one liked it.
No one liked that.
Right. So he
Oh,
moved out,
yeah.
but so I'm going to be doing a podcast. I've had one for a while, but I'm moving into that studio. He gave me that.
That's great.
We're at least more engaged than young Jamie, so.
Exactly. Take out the red lights. So the red lights makes everybody's skin tone look like shit. That's my only advice for you.
Well, so then Joe, so his other studio is pretty straightforward, just that neon sign back behind him. And so it's, Jocko has his thing, which is black and white.
Yeah. You need your own look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, I like this. This is, there's a lot going on,
Well,
but
it's like a bar.
It's like it feels like a bar, and
Yeah.
that was the intent of it, where it's like, hey, because there's all these drinks are live behind you.
Yeah.
And I say that in a very Alec Baldwin Rust situation, where it's like these are live drinks back there. Nobody, don't be prepared if you're not ready to drink and get drunk.
Right, gotcha.
So all of this is live. So that way, when people come into the show, and it's on purpose, where it's like, hey man, go grab a seltzer on set, go grab a hard AF on set. That way, people are like, holy shit, you guys are really drinking. And they're just like, yeah, it's real.
One thing that he has that I don't see here unless it's in another room, he has a whole samurai warrior like outfit, like the armor kind of stuff they wore, the helmet, all of it.
Yeah, that shit's cool.
That is cool.
Oh, so amazing.
He's got a bunch of cool shit though.
Yeah.
Well, we do have one thing that he has. We have the
Flamethrower,
we've got the flamethrower back there.
Well,
okay.
The boring.
Not a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's not a
technically,
flamethrower. It's the Elon Musk one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no, thank you guys. It's been a great time. I appreciate the opportunity here.
Absolutely.
great, man.
This will definitely be your next bestseller here, my man. This is a fantastic read. We appreciate the time. For D'Anthony Holloway, Cam Haynes, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast.